Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, Gyle here, and welcome back to the Forged Alliance Forever promotional series. Average Joes were promised, ladies and gentlemen, and as such today they will be delivered in the form of some custom 4v4 action. I know I've apologised already for the lack of Joes action, but that really is down to the quality and the quantity of pro replays coming in, the tourney coverage and what have you, and as a result, as usual, the Joes end up taking up not so much the back seat but the trunk or the boot of the whole vehicle. But that's just the way it is. But we're here to rectify it today. First of all, the weekly announcement out from Speed. The next installment of his King and Prince of Map tourney kicks off this weekend at the usual time. That's Saturday, 8 PM GMT +1. And it's all going to go down this week on Certis Major. The last one didn't go strictly according to plan. That was Crimson Feud. I think they got a decent number of sign-ups, but due to personal reasons, tons of people dropped out, leaving only 4 people to compete for the Avatar, and Speed ended up walking away with the Avatar to his own tourney, which is well played to him, fair play, but it's never great when the tournament director wins the tourney. But anyway, never mind. On to today's game. As we said, it's going to be custom 4v4. It's all going to go down on Canis 4v4 Special Edition, so hold on to your potatoes as we go on over to the game zone and see how these guys are going to get on. So Canis, we know what we're dealing with here. Let's take a look at the teams. We'll call this Team 1 up here at the top and this Team 2 down here at the bottom. Going first for Team 1 up here at the top left in Halliborange Orange, it's RTN9. He's chosen Aeon, opening first land. To his right in the air position, he's chosen Cybrin. It's his decision, and it's Krautsurfer in Elephantine Grey, opening first land. Thirdly, for Team 1, it's Kiss My Ass, and Kiss My Ass is the only non-Joe to be featured in today's replay, sitting at 1600. And if you take a quick look at the scoreboard, there's quite a gulf between him and the 1200 who's next behind him. But anyway, I'm assuming, I'm going to give them the benefit of doubt and assume that this game is balanced. I have no idea either way, and I didn't stop to check, which I probably should have done. But you know Gyle, he's pretty damn lazy. Anyway, he's kicking it real in Spetsnaz green and opening first land. And lastly for Team 1 up here at the front, it's Suspension, misclicking and going Cybrin in lurid green, opening first land. So that's Team 1. Let's take a look at Team 2. Down here at the bottom right, it's my brand new colleague in the casting profession, that's Rune Norse, and he recently started his casting career by casting all of the round 1 matches to the 2v2 Pro Joe tourney. If you haven't seen those yet, why not check out his channel on the RTS, what is it, the Nordic RTS report on YouTube. That was it. Anyway, he's been very sensible in his racial selection and chosen the very noble, the very attractive, and the very attractively smelling UEF at open first land. And next in the middle, making what must be his 4th or 5th appearance in Gylecast Average Joes, not for any other particular reason other than he's been lucky to feature in some very castable replays, but it's Innocent Instinct, who's also chosen the very noble and attractive UEF, but not so much attractive in colour, being as he's gone burgundy red and open first land, second air. Let's take a look at team member number 3. There's a theme here, also going UEF, going way out west. It's God NL, and he's gone combat green, opening first land, and breaking with tradition for Team 2. He's already left his base and he's on his way up the field. It's Mikir, and he's gone Aeon, Volvo beige, opening first land. So those are the teams, and that is how they stack up. We've got our first air unit on the field, and that is out for not Team 1's air player, although there is an air factory in play for him, but from the 1600 rating player. I'm hoping this is not going to be a blowout due to him, but we will have to wait and see. And his second unit is a transport, so we've either got some aggressive expansion going on or some aggressive aggression going on, and I think, judging by the amount of Zuis that are now amassing in the center of his base, I think it's probably going to be the latter. This looks like a Zui drop we're preparing for here, for either some mass sniping or some base harassment. We'll keep an eye out on that. Mikir moving forward and getting a very obnoxiously placed far forward T1 land factory together for some support. I usually like to work this way with my ACU when I'm in that position and allow kind of whoever's sitting up here to hit the plateau, and then we kind of cover this aspect together, and that way you can at least challenge this Mex and stop it from falling into the enemy's hands. But anyway, each to their own. Everyone plays this game differently, and we do have movement on that transport that looks to be laden, fully laden pretty much, with 6 Zuis. So that's an awful lot of damage. If we bring up the command key, you can see it's going to skirt right the way down the eastern edge of the map, and he's planning to drop in behind Rune Norse's base. So there could be trouble for him. We have 1 interceptor on the field, I think, for Team 2 from Innocent Instinct, but that is all he's working on for the moment. No other inties on the way, and it looks like he's chasing that spy plane from Kithmayas, so this has a pretty good chance of making landfall here. It looks like it might have been spotted. Attack ping going out there from presumably Rune Norse or one of the other team members. Innocent Instinct not liking the pinging. Rune Norse says, what is it? So it doesn't look like he spotted it either, so 1 or 2 of his team members have, but it's too late nonetheless. In come the Zuis, all 6 of them making landfall here, and you could go after the Hydro, but there's an awful lot of T1 P-Gens already in the mix. Of course, you might not know that. Take a look at what Kithmayas can see. Yeah, you see on paper you'd think go for the Hydro and then maybe the T1 P-Gens are going to cripple his power, but there's an awful lot of other T1 P-Gens in place. He's better off going after the Mexes, and Rune Norse hasn't rested on his laurels. In come a ton of mech marines, and they're going to be able to tidy this up long before Innocent Instinct's ACU turns up on the scene. And despite taking down a ton of T1 P-Gens and that Hydro, the feeding of power from his team members is going to be enough to keep him alive here. And look at that T2 mech surviving on 120 HP. If he'd have gone straight after the T2 mechs, he could have taken down 2 or 3 T2 mechs there, and that would have been a much more successful drop. But never mind, the benefits of being able to see everything as a caster, it's just not the same when you're playing. Anyway, Zuis are going to stop Nakir in his tracks. He's been walking very far forward indeed, and he's not going to be too worried about the Zuis. He can march around those all day, turning circles left and right, but what he is going to struggle to deal with are these bombers that are coming in from all directions. And being as the only person who was making air, Innocent Instinct for Team 2 still only has 1 interceptor on the field. The other things he's producing at the moment are spy planes. They're not going to be much help against the bombers, and as a result, Nakir has been forced to thistle production from this forward factory here. Everyone always slags off T1 mobile anti-air. To be honest, if it works, it works, and look at that, it has indeed dealt with some of these bombers. Highly underrated. I know it's not the most efficient thing, mass for mass, but it's certainly enough to make your opponent stop and think. Of course, the real problem is they come in and do that and finish it off in 1 blow. He's working on a Seeker, but that's not going to last too long. In come the Zuis once again. Half of them going for the Commander and half going for the Seeker, and then they all target the Commander. Nakir needs to pay attention here. He's very low on health, straight down to 300 hit points. Oh my goodness! Did his world just fall apart in about 5 seconds, or was it just me? Team 2, first team to lose a team member in 9 minutes, just under, and it's their front player. Wow. Just shows you what can happen if you're not paying attention. It really is a very, very inhospitable game for that. If your attention is elsewhere and you're not focusing on what your commander is doing, it can be all over very soon indeed. All it needed was a couple of move commands there, and that would have saved him. But never mind. That is the nature of the beast. So Team 1 going ahead here in the first 10 minutes. More bombers continue to arrive on the field from Kithmayas. We're getting a little bit more of a push into the air game now from Innocent Instinct, which is good because I have a feeling he's probably going to need it. Dedicated air player creating air, as well as Kithmayas, who's working the bomber scene quite heavily. Take a look at what's going on eco-wise though. God and L sitting on 60 mass per tick. RTN 9 on 61, going 63. Kithmayas has been harassing pretty heavily, and as a result, his eco isn't quite up where you would expect it for a player of his rating. He He is sitting on 35. We have got T2 units on the field for God and Nell, and a T2 factory in play. It's not his HQ, so if he loses it, it doesn't matter, but he's got one up here to continue to produce units, and that is, in no small measure, a necessary evil as a huge wave of assorted T1 comes in from both RTN9 and Krautsurfer. And RTN9 actually has an Obsidian in the mix as well, a couple of them in fact, so T2 on the field for him, and Godinel had a TAC missile launcher, but that is now bitten the dust. Was he able to use it? And I think he was. You can see some dead mexes there. That's probably what prompted the attack from RTN9 and Krautsurfer there. RTN9 losing a few mexes, but ultimately that position was held. Godinel throws that shield gen back nice and quickly, and he's going to have a decent amount of mass in reclaim to hoover back up as well, so he won't be too upset about losing that TAC missile launcher. Scored a couple of mech kills, slowed up development, job done, and now he's got some backup for Rune Norse, who feels like he has to be in multiple places at one time. He now has an attack coming in on the right from Kiss My Ass. It's all those Zuis once again. And they're not going to get too much traction here, as we've got a T2 PD or two in the mix. One of them does go down, that front one there, but the rear one should manage to hold things nice and tightly together. Taking a look at general map control, see, well, it's more or less 50-50, maybe with a slight advantage to Team 1, but then you would expect that, because Team 2 has lost a player. Rune Norse throwing together some T1 PD in the face of this second Zui push. That's going to come to naught for Team 1, as the base is now pretty well established, and also a little bit of support coming in there from Innocent Instinct. Meanwhile, over in the west, T2 and T2 units clash between Krautsurfer and God. Now some more units coming in from RTN9, but it's all T1. Although there was a Spectre in the mix there, it seemed to get shot down pretty quickly from that Skyboxer. Now this forward position for RTN9 in jeopardy. He hasn't actually brought his commander forward. RTN9, if he had it there at all, has since moved it back, and now is in danger of losing this forward position. All it would have taken is a commander up here with overcharge, and this attack would have been stalled. Still producing units, yeah, still working on them for the moment at least. And there's a T2 land factory that's working on an Obsidian as we speak. That will be a critical target for Godinel to destroy. Now, this is nice work now from Innocent Instinct, who has, out of nowhere, the air initiative and a whole wave of stingers. So this game developing at a pretty radical pace for an average Joe's, forcing Kiss My Ass to back up. And that's actually the HQ there. So a little bit further, and might have been able to take that out. However, Ioshiva's entering the fray, more than enough to persuade Instinct to back off. And indeed, that forward base for RTN9 now in tatters. Might have to back up soon though. Cerberus turret on the way to the east from Krautsurfer. But he's actually quite easily able to skirt the edge of its range there. And now potentially could come right in and around the back and threaten Krautsurfer's forward position as well. So despite losing a player, Team 2 actually doing rather well in this one. Team 1 unable to capitalize on that victory, and it may well have something to do with the fact that pretty much all of the ACUs are in the main base, so all that firepower not on the front line. Yes, not being risked, but unable to use that overcharge to stem the flow of these attacks. That's T2 push from Godinel, still going strong, but running into some T2 gunships now, and there is no more flak in that body of units, so that is going to be the end of that little push. But look at the wave of gunships coming in around the edge of the map from Innocent Instinct, supported by a whole wave of interceptors as well. Now, is he going to hit that T2 mech? You can always get that on the way back, remember. Why not move in to effect some damage on the main base? If he's going to do anything, he needs to get in there and kill those NGs before they erect all of that T1 anti-air. One of them does go online, but that is going to be all as the rest of the engineers get slaughtered. In come the interceptors and T2 bombers for Kiss My Ass. There's so many T2 P-Gens at the back there that you could be going for. Instead, they're going to be focusing on Kraut Surfer, and I think that's ambitious. They're never going to be able to chew through all that HP before they die, but they might have been able to kill off a few more. But a T3 drop coming in from Rune Norse from nowhere, and suddenly this very exposed flank for Team 1 is getting pummeled. I cannot believe how hard they are falling behind, and in fact one of the Titans was dropped off onto that side section there, and that's a T3 Mex which is getting beats from one of those Titans. Fantastic play from Team 2. So much going on justifies knocking game speed back to normal. One of the core T2 mechs is down for RTN9. Desperately doesn't want to lose that T3 mechs, but he's going to. Bomber's trying to save it. Fighter Bombers, and just manages to take out the Titan, but too late. So RTN9 drops down to 51 mass per tick, second bottom after Kraut Server, who's on 38, and that is not due to any kind of power outage. That is just what he's putting out right now. So incredibly strong play from Team 2. I really like what I'm seeing here. More drops being prepared from Rune Norse. Titans queuing up to be airlifted. That was such a surprise. Great work from him and the rest of his team. And now the inevitable lull after a flurry of activity. Godinel still sitting on his plateau. Looks like he's setting up shop for the long haul and wants to keep it, throwing a strategic missile defense together. Wonder if they've seen anything that's prompted that, or that is just the fact that he does that as you approach 20 minutes. I think he could have waited a little bit longer before worrying about such things. There's certainly nothing on the field to represent any immediate danger on that front, but in comes a strategic bomber from Innocent Instinct. What's he going for? Could get it one in here and kill a ton of build capacity. Doesn't drop his bomb. Classic Subcom engine fail. Is he going to get another bombing run? That's the question as he comes back off the edge of the map. And if he does, what's he going for? Spoiled for target choices. He's coming back in. He does get a bomb off, but that's going to be the only one he manages, and indeed he goes for that Cerberus turret and kills just about every engineer bar one that's surrounding it. And now we're going to get some SAM launchers coming out from suspension. I don't blame him. Team 1 under pressure here, and a man up and packing the highest rated player on the field. Just don't know what's going on with this game. What happened to those Titans? Well, they've been dropped up here, I think. Still waiting for them to attack, though. Kiss My Ass is an upgrade on his commander on the way, very nearly completed. And finally, the attack issue is ordered over in the west. All he has to do is skirt around the edge. Yes, there are a couple of rhinos there. Shouldn't bother those Titans too much, but all that T1 PD definitely wants to stay away from that. T2 flak, target of choice. And that is actually a T2 land HQ, so that would be a nice kill, but there is actually another one in the base, so it wouldn't matter either way. And we have T3 air on the field now for Innocent Instinct, whereas we're only 50% the way through the upgrade for Kraut Surfer. And it's all playing into Team 2's hands. Innocent Instinct as the air player, able to scoop a little extra eco from the destruction from their forward member, but due to good harassment and groundwork from both Godnell and Rune Norse, he hasn't had to do much on the ground, whereas Kraut Surfer has been busy trying to defend this region and assist RTN9, who's just been bullied by Godnell. That massive T2 push we saw a moment ago, and then of course that T3 drop in the back from Rune Norse. And even if it's not conquering territory directly, it's the psychological impact that has on the game, and of course what your choices will be for the next 5-10 minutes after something like that. You're very much less likely to push out of your base. You're much more likely to be insular and defensive in your approach, and that's never conducive to winning games. But we do have T3 air now on the field for Team 1, and it's not their dedicated air player who's sitting at 92% on their T3 upgrade. It is in fact, of course, Kiss My Ass, their 1600 rated player, who's pumping out ASFs. He's got a way to go though to catch out Innocent Instinct. Seems to be on just about double the air power. Team 2 though, having gained an advantage, yet to deal another blow. Godnell looks like he's marching on that forward position of Kraut Surfers, trying to finish it off. Some support potentially coming in from the east from Suspension. And in fact, Godnell going to redirect to engage that. He's probably going to wish there was a few Percys in there now that this is predominantly T2 that he's facing. Titan's fantastic at T1. Anything above that, you're going to wish you had Percivals, really. And in come a few Percivals, just as we were talking. Speak of the devil, 3 Percys added to the mix, but that is a large quantity of T2. Perhaps too much for him to deal with for the moment. And now we actually have T3 air on the field from RTN as well. And that upgrade finally completed from Kraut Server, who's caused an upgrade on his comm and then cancelled it. But another push up the middle from Team 2. Innocent Instincts T1 lagging behind those Titans and Percivals from Rune Norse. And his forward mexes likely to fall foul of this next attack. Support commanders production is underway down here at the bottom. Godnell getting another upgrade on his commander, and he'll be happy that that missile defense has one in the clip, and in fact is going to start. He's queued up another PJ, another shield, and a nuke launcher, so he's looking to enter the nuclear arms race. Are we getting anything like that from Team 1? What we can see so far. And looking for a target option. Rune Norse trying to march on Kiss My Ass's forward position, but that's not actually a sensible idea. time when a handful of Percivals and Titans would have worked wonders, but there's now an awful lot of defensive firepower in this area of the map for Team 1. Kiss My Ass losing one T2 PD there, but still has 5 of them to call on. As strong as Percivals are, cannot contend with that kind of firepower. Coupled with a Whaler out from Krautsurfer. But looking at Eco, Godinel running away with things here. 205 mass per tick. Second place is Runenorse on 145. And third place is Kiss My Ass on 162. Innocent Instinct in fourth on 131. But everybody else lagging behind there for Team 1. If at all possible, they really want to get back this area of the map, secure these 4 mexes. They need that mass. Another T3 mechs on the way to repair the one that was damaged earlier. And this time, preparing a little bit more defense. Might be overkill, 4 of them. "27 minutes gone in this one." We'll take a quick look at the reclaim figures, because this is where teams can come back into games when lots has been thrown at them. Kiss My Ass. You can't take a look at reclaim figures. That's so irritating, and I can't turn it back on either. I was doing a little bit of filming with Sopcom filming earlier, and as a result had to turn it off. Will be enlightened in the next few days as to what that's about. And also the next installment, the next unit spotlight will be coming soon. The narrative is done, written. Legstock just working on the visuals as we speak. Another attack now coming in from Godinel. Lots of Percivals in the mix, and they've got Cougars with them as well. T3 Mobile Anti-Air for UEF. Look at those Percys just breeze through those Harbingers, and a wave of strap bombers coming in to harass Kiss My Ass's forward position. But so much anti-air and so many ASFs now. No joy from those. A couple of bombs do land on Krautsurfer, taking him down to just under 10k HP, but he won't worry about that. What he will worry about is the wave of Percivals from Godinel making their way into the main base. There is a strategic missile defense that he'll probably want to take out, being as he's building a nuke launcher. Trouble is, you get into this position, there's just so much to shoot at. What do you go after? Or perhaps you go after the ACU that's walking directly towards you when you've got a whole bunch of Percivals, and Krautsurfer, whether intentional or not, ends up killing himself more or less, walking towards those Percys. Runenorse enjoying the way the game is going. Well, it might look good and fun on your side of the map, but I doubt the same will be being said on Mumble, if these guys are on Mumble for Team 1. I suspect they are not enjoying this game anywhere near as much as you are, sir. Runenorse telling his comrade to go after the HQs. I would agree at taking down that T3 P-Gen. That would have been my first choice of target. 4 Percys remain. T1 bombers out from Kiss My Ass trying to deal with these Percys. They're not going to save that T1 land factory, sorry, T3 land factory HQ. Brick coming in from the south from suspension, trying to chew through that most southerly of Percival's HP, but they're also not going to save the T3 air factory HQ. And now 2 Percivals remain and are going after the core T3 mechs, and are going to get at least one of them. Another one that's already been destroyed. That is a crippling attack there from Gyle, taking down Krautsurfer and basically destroying RTN9's ability to function. It's got a few ASFs left on the field, but that is it in the form of T3. Rune Norse looking like he wanted to join in on that attack. Had a bunch of Percys in the middle. But seeing as that's over now, he's going to congregate in the river. But suspension seems to be getting going on the experimental side of things. One Monkey Lord complete, another one on the way. And he's got a big old bank of mass to rely on. He could crank out a couple here if he can get some engineers on a reclaim mission. There is a ton of mass to be had in this area now. This is where you've got to use that reclaim to fight back into this game if you can. And we've already got an experimental on the field from Kiss My Ass, and Ithota sitting in the river. More airdrops coming in from Rune Norse, airlifting Percival's onto the scene, and they're just going to walk out of the river behind that Ithota and fire a couple of shots into the back. An explosion goes off at the back there, and that looks like a support commander has gone pop. And it actually looks like that might have been airdropped in from Team 2. Easy play there. But down goes the Ithota, and a wave of Zuis coming in to try and deal with the Percivals, but they're going to walk headfirst into an Ion Storm. And T1 Mobile Arty typically doesn't last too long against Ion Storm blasts. You can see them getting popped there. And now a Fat Boy coming in from the east as well. Rune Norse adding to the pain just when it looked like Team 1 might be able to branch out. There's just so much land-based T3 on the ground here for Team 2. It's making life really difficult, and forward, or a forward attack missile launcher for Rune Norse just sniping at exposed mexes here, trying to keep Team 1's eco under wraps. And another attack missile inbound on the main base, just going after clumps of build capacity for Kiss My Ass, trying to slow down the reclaim mission that's underway for him, trying to keep, and I wish I'd enabled that reclaim window now. I'd love to see what he's on. And when you're missing these things, it makes you realize just what wonderful additions they are to the game. The work that's gone into FA over the years. Even after the passing of GPG, that forward Monkey Lord, though, taking a lot of Percival fire and Fat Boy fire as well, but a second one is following it up, and he's got brick support as well. Innocent Instinct bringing in his ASFs over the top to shadow the ground combat, but this is a bit of a mistake from Gyle. Bringing that Fat Boy too far forward, would have been unaware, I guess, of that second Monkey Lord, and as soon as that massive laser is trained on it, Fat Boys rarely stand a chance. And now they can focus on this support commander with the bricks. Monkey Lord is bound to survive. Meanwhile, another strap bomb attack up here. Pinging going down from Team 2 because there's an Awasar that's nearly completed. Strap bombers coming in around the back. Looks like they're going for RTN9's ACU that's sitting at the back there, and they're going to score a kill. Innocent Instinct ejecting yet another player from Team 1. Oh my goodness, and that Awasar so close to being completed, but the Fat Boy coming in from Rune Norse. Is it going to kill it before it can be completed? I would be throwing everything on that Awasar now if I was Kiss My Ass, trying to get it completed so it can lift off away from that fire. But no, it can't. And the wreck doesn't even remain. What's going on there? So nothing left for Kiss My Ass to reclaim. They just can't get a break but this should relieve the pressure. Strap bombers coming in now from Kiss My Ass, going after that Fat Boy, impacting on the shield, taking it down to half its health. Still another 10,000 hit points remain. Where are Innocent Instinct's ASFs? Well, they're way back at base. But what on earth went on there? A snipe of some description. Apologies for missing it. And Team 2 lose their strongest player. As to what, I have no idea though. Actually, it probably wasn't the snipe. It was probably the ground units coming down on the western edge of the map. The bricks and everything that we saw earlier. So apologies for missing that, guys. In classic Gyle fashion. So in potentially with a slither of hope here. But even so, look how well developed and set up Team 2 are down here. Fat Boy's under construction left and right, and now we have a continental drop warming up from Rune Norse. He's been loving his drops all game, and this one could be a painful one. Each continental capable of carrying 6 Percivals, of course. That little one, though, looking only to be packing 4. We do have a crab that's under construction. That's got 60,000 hit points on the clock. Can he finish it in time? That is the question. Certainly they would want to have that, if at all possible. That Fat Boy still alive, now harassing the Ethota out front of Kiss My Ass's forward base, but in come the Percivals now, bearing down on Suspension's ACU, who's very wisely moving it back. He does stop it to add a little bit of build capacity to that crab, but that's never going to get done in time. You've just got to leave it, my friend, and get the hell out of there. Percival's bearing down on this Cybrid's position. It's a beautiful sight indeed. I'm completely objective as a caster in every way, except when a Cybrid is dying horribly to UEF. And that is going to be the end of that base. Nothing left, really, to help hurry that crab along, although it's still under construction from somewhere. Must be an engineering station or something. No, there's the T1 NGs down here, slowly getting picked off one at a time. Surely you want to take out that T3 ion reactor. Suspension well out front, but in comes strap bombers on the forward base, and now Kiss My Ass's ACU is exposed to Fat Boy fire. It's all going on for Team 1. The shield blinks back up in the nick of time. Percivals have completed one pass through Suspension's base, but there's still a ton of Cerberus turrets dotted around in here, and slowly but surely those Percies are getting eaten away, and as a result, Suspension, who was pretty much sandwiched in between that Fat Boy and the Percivals, is somehow still alive. 8,000 hit points remain, but for how long? Only a couple of Percies left in that main base now. The Fat Boy reacquires the ACU as its main target and dishing out huge amounts of damage. Suspension down into the red. He's going to be ejected from the game almost on the nose of 40 minutes, leaving just Kiss My Ass by his lonesome. That forward Ethota dying as it attempts to eradicate that forward base, and that's actually the location of Rune Norse's ACU. So had he managed to get through there, he could have scored an ACU kill, but that was never on the cards, not with the amount of Ravagers that Rune Norse has been throwing together in that forward position. That's a nasty looking firebase, and now this Fat Boy is able to roam seemingly unchallenged upon Kiss My Ass's main base. T2 B-Gen's going pop. Another drop coming in from Rune Norse, but huge quantities of flak and T1 PD insta-kill those transports before those units can make landfall More shield gens going down as Kiss My Ass attempts to turtle up. Tanky commander at 18,500 hit points at full health. But that fat boy still alive and at full health, and with 170 kills and climbing. And there is the T3 HQ, Air HQ for Kiss My Ass under pressure now. He is going to lose that, and that is going to be his only means of air production, really. He's actually changed up target off the HQs and onto the mexes. And Kiss My Ass, Control Ks, all of that, not wanting to offer free veterancy. Strap Bombers in once again from Innocent Instinct, takes down all of the Athena's shields bar one, but is not going to get a second pass at it. Another drop coming in, and another Fat Boy, this time from Innocent Instinct. And this is just a question now of whittling down Kiss My Ass. Sounds incredibly disturbing. There is literally nothing that Team 1 or Kiss My Ass can now do about this. Fat Boys moving in from multiple directions, and a wave of Percivals bearing down on his commander's position. He's got a bunch of T2 static defense in there, but that is not going to be enough as he cowers behind the last two remaining, or 3 or 4 remaining shield gens. He blink on almost at the perfect time. And there goes the final shield. In comes Innocent Instinct with a wave of Strap Bombers. The bombers land, and the AoE splash is enough to kill off the commander. Rune Norse and Innocent Instinct remain to seal the win for Team 2. Very nice game indeed. I hope you enjoyed that all, guys. I certainly did. But in the meantime, stay well and stay safe. This is Gyle signing out.